Welcome Trinidad and Tobago to our News 4 report, a product of the Government Information Services Limited. I'm Nicola Barito. Let's take a look at the headlines. Trinidad and Tobago to get a new postal code system. Government announces an expansion of the on-the-job training initiative. Hundreds of young people to benefit from the program. And in our sports feature, elite athletes funding in full gear ahead of London 2012 Olympics. And now to our top story. Trinidad and Tobago will soon enjoy the convenience of a postal code system. This from Public Utilities Minister Senator Emmanuel George, who described the initiative as a major step forward in improving the quality of life for citizens in this country. Verna Barth reports.
Trinidad and Tobago will soon have its very own postal code system. This from Public Utilities Minister Senator Emmanuel George, who spoke at the system's launch. Minister George says the new initiative is expected to impact all citizens. Also addressing the launch was UWI lecturer Professor Jacob Opadei, who delved into some details on the impact of the postal system in this country. He highlighted the fact that there will be improved efficiency in billing and payment monitoring, as well as ambulance response in the country.
Another application is emergency response. When I pick up the phone and ask for help, either police or ambulance, all I need to do is give my postcode. I don't have to learn how to spell this, my address, the community, turn to the left, turn to the right, the greenhouse. You give your postcode, it's a numeric number, and the ambulance or the police put it on their computer, they find out where you are based.
Professor Opadei says persons will be able to immediately access statistical data on a particular area by just entering its postal code. This, he says, will be quite useful to the business community and the health sector.
Quicker and accurate location of emergency call, link to statistics data on disease occurrence, and very soon when you start going to the hospital and you report dengue, it is important that the hospital capture your postcode. Okay, we have dengue infection on this postcode today, and this postcode tomorrow, another one on this postcode. What will be the consequence of that information? We want to find out what is happening in that area.
Before the end of the year, persons are expected to get their postal codes in the mail. Public Utilities Minister Emmanuel George says persons will soon be able to find places without having to look for landmarks. This, he says, will eliminate the current issue of improper addressing in Trinidad and Tobago.
The utilization of a postal code system will have immediate and tangible benefits for the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago. These benefits include improved mail delivery, significantly greater accuracy in locating addresses, and the facilitation of e-commerce such as online transactions and internet shopping.
Public Utilities Minister Senator Emmanuel George says with the implementation of a postal code service and a standardized address system in Trinidad and Tobago, everyone stands to benefit greatly. The postal services, the private sector, and the public services. I am Verna Barth reporting for News 4.
When we come back, plans to expand the on-the-job training program. Stay with us.
Come to our beaches. We're looking out for you.
Welcome back. The Ministry of Science, Technology and Tertiary Education is expanding the on-the-job training program. In this regard, a new sub-office for administering the program has been opened in Couva. And as we hear in this report, other corporate entities are joining in the effort to empower the nation's young people.
Thousands of young people stand to benefit from government's on-the-job training program since its relaunch under the aegis of the National Training Agency. In its latest move to expand the program, the Ministry of Science, Technology and Tertiary Education saw the addition of a new OJT sub-office located at the NESC compound in Couva. Minister of Science, Technology and Tertiary Education, the Honorable Fazal Karim, said it's all about developing the human resource capital in our nation.
While you are experiencing your training or you are acquiring your training on the job, many of these trainees have the opportunity to become full-time employees of the very institution in which they are training, because they're doing so well, and the vacancies as they're advertised, they apply for them. And in applying for them, they're given the preference because they have the experience and the exposure of working there. So that's an additional benefit. So if you are seeing what we are doing, we're providing additional training opportunities, but spaces for our young people to grow.
The program will serve to benefit young persons, particularly from the Couva and Pointe-a-Pierre areas. On hand at the opening of the new sub-office was Minister in the Ministry of Local Government, Rujunathan Darsing, who said a joint venture between the NESC, the National Training Agency, and the on-the-job training program at the Point Lisas campus is a much welcomed initiative.
It is an overriding philosophy of collaboration and gelling of agencies under a particular ministry, so that there could be what I would call the creation of a one-stop shop. A one-stop shop in education and training and economic development and planning for the future of Trinidad and Tobago is unfolding in this particular geographic area of central Trinidad.
Social Development Minister Dr. Glenn Ramadasing added that the program would aid in government's push towards empowering young people.
We must now understand that we cannot and do not have to reinvent the wheel. There are wonderful programs in labor. There are exceptional programs in science and technology, in youth. And therefore we must take these programs and deepen the collaboration between ministries so that we foster a new type of development, a development that sees us embracing the programs and policies of other ministries rather than seeking to create a new one for your own self.
The opening of this program comes as government is joined in commemorating Youth Employment Month, which was declared by the governing body of the International Labour Organization.
Meanwhile, trainees signing up for the new OJT program expressed their thoughts to News 4 on how this program will assist them in realizing their career goals.
It's really good. So you could gain experience and you could learn like what the outside life there is about, and also well for people who not able to have funds all the time to come here, assisting them with something to basically help them so they could further their education.
Later on in life, I'll come out with my pass and I'll be able to get a good job. And working, you get in work experience, and plus you get in like passage money to come to school if you don't have.
One graduate student who is also enrolled in the program saw it as an opportunity to gain some valuable work experience.
BSc in computing, and it led me to the OJT because most of the jobs, when you apply for them, you need experience for it. So through the OJT, I get gain experience and further my knowledge based on the criteria that I already met, which are, well, I have my degree currently in computing.
A Caribbean meeting to prepare for the upcoming Connect the Americas Summit to be held in Panama later this year. This meeting was aimed at holding discussions with representatives of the International Communications Union and officials of the Ministry of Public Administration. Shawnee Lewis has more in this story.
Connecting the unconnected by the year 2015. Not only is this division of the International Telecommunications Union, it's also the theme for this year's Connect the Americas Summit, which is to be hosted by the government of Panama to be held in July. At a preparatory meeting with several representatives of the ITU, Minister of Public Administration Caroline Sipasad-Bachan said the purpose of the summit is to ensure that nations are connected through the information and communication technologies.
If we can align our strategies appropriately, we will be much better able to seek the public interests of our countries, while at the same time seeking the interests and development of the entire region. We are all aware of the significant challenges we face as our governments seek to integrate the region economically. These challenges are not insurmountable and should in fact be the impetus that drives our actions to work together, strategize together, and build together.
Minister Sipasad-Bachan said the meeting will provide an opportunity collaboration between the public and the private sectors to narrow the digital divide that exists in our country.
This conference preparatory meeting convened here today, therefore, quite timely insofar as the identification of projects to be undertaken within the Caribbean region in the 5 thematic areas which were adopted at the World Telecommunications Development Conference in 2010. As you all know, these areas include emergency communications, digital broadcasting, broadband access and uptake in urban and rural areas, reduction of internet access costs, human capacity building on ICTs with emphasis on persons with disabilities and people living in rural and deprived urban areas. My understanding is that 25 projects have so far been proposed, and I'm sure that they are all relevant. In Trinidad and Tobago, significant work is currently underway in all of these areas.
The summit will welcome heads of state and government, ministers, chief executive officers and senior executives of leading regional and international ICT businesses, heads of regional and international development organizations, senior officials of the United Nations, senior officials of regional and international financial institutions, national, regional and global media companies, and prominent academics and industry analysts. Sipasad-Bachan stated the summit offers a venue for leaders from the public and private sectors, as well as international and regional financing and development agencies, to network face-to-face and forge new partnerships.
Connecting the unconnected by 2015 represents one of the main priorities of this Government of the People's Partnership through the promotion of information and communication technology. It is our firm conviction that ICT is critical to economic diversification and key to our strengthening of competitiveness and viability in the global market as individual nations and as the CARICOM family of nations. The guiding philosophy of the government's policies, as you know, is identified in the 7 interconnected pillars aimed at reviving, developing, and sustaining the economy of Trinidad and Tobago.
The summit will feature discussion panels and roundtables focusing on the challenges posed to emerging and transitioning economies in harnessing the full potential of ICTs. Sherilyn Lewis, News 4.
When we come back, the Minister of Labour looks at reducing the high rate of youth unemployment. Stay with us.
Hi guys, I'm Wayne. I'm here today to give you all advice on what you should do and what you should not do in order to have a good beach day. First of all, learn to swim now, man. A little dog paddle is all it might take to save your life. Swim where the lifeguard is on patrol, and remember, stay between those red and yellow flags. Wait at least 1 hour after eating before going back to swim. Report any dangers that you may see to the lifeguard. And if in trouble, get on your back and float, wave your hand and call for help. Now if you can't float, that's where we, the lifeguards, come in. Now to give you some pointers as to things you should never do. Never go swimming alone. Never fake actions or call for help. We'll never know if it's true. Next thing, and we go on our way. But seriously, we lifeguards are here to save lives. Remember, you have your responsibilities as well.
Thank you for staying with us. The high incidence of youth unemployment in Trinidad and Tobago is in urgent need of address. This from Labour Minister Errol McLeod, who spoke at the first National Youth Employment Forum. Minister McLeod says the forum will help to curb the percentage of youth unemployment in this country. More from Verna Barath.
Labour Minister Errol McLeod is announcing that the unemployment rate in Trinidad and Tobago among young persons is a cause for concern. Speaking at the first National Youth Employment Forum in Trinidad and Tobago, Minister McLeod announced that according to the ILO, some 200 million persons are unemployed worldwide. Of this, he says, 40% are young persons. He adds that there are some 22 million persons in Latin America and the Caribbean who neither work nor study.
In the case of Trinidad and Tobago, we find that youth unemployment levels are about twice that of the adult rates and about 2/5 of the total number of persons unemployed in 2009 were young persons in the age group 15 to 24. We are determined to improve this situation with your help and your support.
Minister McLeod informs that the purpose of the forum is to curb the youth unemployment situation in Trinidad and Tobago by finding ways to create opportunities for more work in this country.
Whether as an employer or an employee, we are preparing, all of us together, increased access to work opportunities. More than that, its focus, that is the forum's focus, is on developing ways to improve opportunities for and access to decent work.
The minister elaborated on what he referred to as decent work. He says the kinds of jobs that are chosen does not matter too much. However, he says persons should have the right to certain basic conditions of work.
In very simple terms, decent work refers to work which is performed under conditions of freedom to join any organization, association, trade union of your choice, work that provided for dignity, safety, and security. What do I do on the basis of my employment today? What do I do the next however many years when I will no longer be in active employment?
The Labour Minister vows to work collaboratively with the various organizations, including educational and training programs, towards addressing the unemployment situation in Trinidad and Tobago. He says the outcomes of the forum will be shared with the policymakers to assist in improving the design and implementations of policies and projects targeted at developing young persons. Verna Barath, News 4.
In keeping with the national sport policy, the government of Trinidad and Tobago is committed to providing financial assistance to outstanding athletes. Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Sport, Ashwin Creed, was instrumental in formulating and executing the policy. Wayne Cunningham sat down with him to find out what it takes to be an elite athlete.
Bovel III, Batiste, Philip, and Daniel are some of the names we expect to hear during the London 2012 Olympic Games. But it's not an easy task to get to an Olympiad or any other sporting event for that matter. The physical and mental challenges are great, plus there's the added strain of financing their various programs. The Ministry of Sport has stepped in to assist in this area with a very successful program. Permanent Secretary Mr. Ashwin Creed give us some insight into the Elite Athlete Assistance Program.
The history behind the Elite Athletes Program really is the program really started in 2004 when athletes were preparing for the Olympic Games in Athens, Greece. Following that, I entered the ministry in November 2005, and the cabinet then had mandated that we develop a policy for elite athletes. The athletes are the ones to apply for the funding. It goes to the respective federation, then to the Olympic Committee, and then to the ministry.
Numerous factors in the area of finance impact the preparation of an elite athlete.
A lot of athletes were complaining about funding and preparation. And again, this is the reason, one of the reasons why we developed the policy, so the athletes now can focus on competition and don't have to worry about where they're going to get money from to pay for coaching, to pay to use facilities, to pay for physiotherapy, to pay for nutrition, massage therapists, right, and all the other areas that go with preparation.
Just applying for funding is not enough for aspiring Olympians. They must also show promise in their respective disciplines.
In terms of the requirements, is that the policy dictates that you must have medaled in one of the regional or international or continental games recognized by the Olympic Committee or the Federation or the Ministry.
All right, well, give us an example of those games.
All right, you have like the CAC games, you have those development games that lead up to the Olympic Games, the CAC, the Pan Am, the Commonwealth, the Olympics. For other sports, they have their own continental type games, like for cycling. Recently with Justin Phillips, they have their Pan Am Championships, and they also have their World Championships also, right? So most of these games that internationally recognized by the Olympic Committee, you would have medaled or you would have been ranked in the top 40 or thereabouts in a particular sport. However, we try to be flexible. So somebody that will rank 45th, we still try to help, because what we have been doing over the years is trying to make the policy flexible. But the policy is evolving. So that right now we have created a second tier in that we recognize that there are athletes who not elite, but on the brink of becoming elite, and they need some assistance. So we help them.
There are approximately 70 athletes as well as national teams benefiting from the program. But the ministry already has plans to extend its reach. We'll bring you more on those plans in tomorrow's newscast. Wayne Cunningham, News 4 Sports.
Coming up after the break, masked men and women are rewarded for their contributions to Carnival 2012.
We are reporting from communities across the country. People are calling Nalis Libraries their library. Tell me, why is Nalis your library?
My library is where I can have fun learning.
My library is helping me earn better grades with online research resources.
My library is my gateway to the world of information.
My library is providing access to the differently abled. As a visually impaired person, I can envision limitless possibilities.
My library is making my world truly worldwide with free internet access.
My library is helping me keep an eye on my health with access to the virtual health library via the Nalis website.
Nalis is my library.
Personal music players can stop you from being aware of your surroundings. Always be aware of your surroundings and periodically look over your shoulder to prevent anyone from sneaking up on you. Remember, crime prevention is everyone's business. A message from the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service.
Welcome back. Masked men and women were awarded for their contributions to mask making. The National Carnival Bands Association delivering the feature address was Minister of the Arts and Multiculturalism, Winston Peters, who announced the government's plan to the continued expansion and growth of carnival celebrations in Trinidad and Tobago.
Artisans of Carnival were recently awarded for their efforts and contribution towards Carnival Celebrations 2012. The award ceremony was held for participants in the senior category. Minister of Arts and Multiculturalism Winston Peters, in his feature address, praised artisans for their achievements. He said the success of this event will not be possible if were not for the effort and commitment by these artisans.
No one can deny that a massive contributing factor to the success of this yearly event is made through the efforts of every individual who forms part of this, our carnival ecosystem. I am referring to the band leaders, designers, craftsmen and women, persons who play king and queen of the bands.
President of the National Carnival Bands Association, David Lopez, said despite the challenges faced this year during Carnival celebrations, Carnival turned out good. The National Carnival Bands Association aim is to ensure that the celebration of Carnival maintains its creative integrity, local pride and future development by representing the interests of local producers and participants of the Carnival industry.
We are working to see how best we can one day have the problems with the congestion and the parade route for Carnival, which is a major issue. We continue to work with all the stakeholders, including the Mayor of Port of Spain, TNTEC, the police, all the stakeholders in Carnival, for us to protect what is our greatest export.
Minister Peters said it's important to recognize the hard work by artisans for Carnival.
To especially recognize the persons who emerged on Winners Row this year. When you break it down to the basic, judges in our Carnival contests are trained to award numeric values to an artistic creation. But one would like to think, however, that perhaps in a different world, neither a numeric nor a dollar value can be placed on creativity or art.
Alluding to the computerized adjudication process for this year's Carnival, Lopez said plans are on stream to further enhance the technological capabilities of the entire adjudicating process for Carnival 2013.
The adjudication process in terms of computerizing the whole system. We have started it in 2009, and it's a process that will take a long while. However, we are about 75% there.
Minister Peters said government is committed to see the continued growth and expansion of Carnival celebrations.
The Trinidad and Tobago government remains justifiably proud of the potential of growth each year during this signal event on our calendar. To ensure continued expansion and opportunity for as many of our people as possible, the government clearly understands its role and responsibility in absorbing some of the cost of the major fixtures during the celebration.
The ceremony was held at Queen's Hall in Port of Spain. Charlene Lewis, News 4.
And that's a look at our News 4 report. Do remember to join us every weekday right here on